YouTube family? So this is the other side of the street from the video I did yesterday showing BLM land. This is more of it right here. But in this video though, as I take you guys on this ride along, I want to answer a couple questions that were left behind. They're mainly questions about here, where some of you guys are trying to figure out whether or not you're trying to move here full time and try to get a visa. Some of you all have already tried and then been denied. So here are a couple of questions that were left behind for me. And tomorrow, I'm gonna talk to you guys seriously. I'm not gonna be joking around. We're talking about living abroad. And I want you to see both sides, where there is some savings, but there are also some things that you guys see online where people are just not being completely honest. And we're just going to discuss that as a whole, okay? But let me answer a couple questions that were left behind. Okay, the first question is about the health insurance and how do they come up with the calculation for health insurance? Okay, so I would just say this in the beginning. If you're coming get a visa for the first time, right? You won't be able to get public health insurance, which is EPS. You'll have to get your own health insurance that meets their requirement, and you'll have to pay it all up front. So in other words, if you get a 3-year visa, say you get a 3-year migrant visa, you gotta pay the full amount for the 3 years for your health insurance up front. If you get a 2-year visa or a 1-year visa, you have to pay that 1 year up front or the 2 years up front. That's what happened because there were a lot of people who had insurance. They would drop their insurance and then some medical emergency would come up and they wouldn't have any money. So then they made it a rule so they wouldn't have this burden, because when they don't have insurance, the burden falls back to the city or to the county, and they're not trying to have foreigners come here and not have coverage. So that's why now with a visa, you have to have health insurance. That is a requirement. Now, for the other part of the second part of your question is, veterans who came here had insurance, but they got denied. How could that happen? Okay. When you are doing the visa information with your attorney is supposed to tell you a roundabout way how much you should be spending based upon how much money you make. So to give you an example, just say 100% veteran, right? Let's just call it $4 grand even. Around about how much should that veteran be paying monthly for local health insurance, okay? Because it's based off your income. So at $4,000 a month, depending on the exchange rate, you're gonna spend between $230 to about $280 a month, somewhere in there for public health insurance. That's the local health insurance. Now, if you just wanna go private only, there's a lot of different factors with private only. Your health overall, any pre-existing conditions, and how old you are, your age, okay? Those have a lot to do with it. So, I'm about to be 53. I'm in not so great health. And I pay almost as much as I pay for public health insurance, okay? So my insurance monthly, every month, is over $500. It's closer. It depends on the exchange rate. It can fluctuate from $510 on the low end when we're over 4 to 1. And on the high end, it can go all the way to about $560 something a month. So that isn't that huge of a difference from what I would have paid in the States if I had to pay it. But being a disabled veteran, that's one thing I don't have to pay if I was still in the States. Okay. And then the last part of your question, another question that I got regarding veterans who get denied here is, there was a veteran who was here. I guess they missed, a year or so. They came back and they didn't even recognize their visa anymore. What's going on with that? So depends on the type of visa that you have. You only get a certain amount of time outside of the country each year. Those are things that should have been explained to you by your attorney. So if you have a migrant visa, right, whether it's a 2-year, 3-year migrant visa, 3 years is the max, the most time you can spend outside the country per year is 6 months. So that person being outside the country more than a year, yeah, that visa is null and void. I mean, you spent all that money and they're not gonna cover it anymore. That's just basically how it works. All right, guys, but hey, appreciate everybody watching as always. Look forward to the conversation tomorrow And with that being said, guys, I'm out of here.